Destiny, I've heard you say before that conspiracies at this scale require too many moving parts to work. Yes, and that's true. In order for all of this type of stuff to work, we're imagining that an order goes from the President of the United States to get stuff seized from Fulton County. So what would that require? Well, we would have to imagine that him doing that would be signed off by people in his immediate vicinity. People like J.D. Vance, who's on record saying he would have helped Trump overturn the election, and people like Stephen Miller, who say that Trump won the election in 2020, and perhaps a cabinet where I don't think a single person admitted that Trump actually lost the 2020 election. It would require people like Tulsi Gabbard, who was complicit in essentially fabricating the conclusion of a report about Obama faking evidence of some Russia collusion thing to hurt Trump, despite the fact that none of that came out until after Trump was elected. It would require more directly a corrupt attorney general who's willing to take orders from Trump directly, like Pam Bondi, who we've seen Trump give explicit orders to insofar as who to indict and who to use to indict them, and for what charges they should be indicted for on Truth Social. Then it would take a corrupt FBI, somebody headed by a person like Kash Patel, who is on record mass purged FBI investigators and detectives merely for being involved with investigations related to Trump in the past. And then it would require some corrupt prosecutor to file the case, similar to how we've seen people like Lindsay Halligan, who's now no longer even a qualified prosecutor. And then there were a couple other these jokers whose names I should remember, who have sometimes failed to secure an indictment from a grand jury when the meme was always it's even a ham sandwich can be indicted. To answer your question, yes, these types of things are just basically not possible because you would have to have so many levels of corruption, and not like you're guessing, but you'd have to be able to point to specific examples of that corruption at every single level before you're even remotely close to saying something like this could happen. The problem is we've very easily cleared the hurdle on every single one of those stages at this point. U.S. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard speaks on the phone while standing inside a vehicle loaded with boxes outside the Fulton County Election Hub and Operations Center after the FBI executed a search warrant there. Why? FBI sits underneath the DOJ. Does the FBI report up ever through to the Director of National Intelligence? Other federal agencies with intelligence capabilities also report to the DNI, including the FBI, but that's for intelligence. That wouldn't be like for like domestic policing, right? The FBI intelligence branch, yeah. Why the fuck would she show up? That's so evil. It's like a fucking movie where the fucking head of the CIA shows up where the secret agent is supposed to be when they're doing an investigation. And you're like, why the fuck would the top guy show up at this? Like, this is the most retarded thing ever. They would never go. You would just send your detectives or your agents or maybe some middle guy. Is this actually her? Time to start using Hassan as a canary in the coal mine. When he gets arrested, you get the fuck out. Hassan is never getting arrested. That dude is a king bootlicker. That guy's the most safe, edgy fucking loser in the world. So anything you can say to doomers like me, to steel man, that the country isn't either totally fucked or about to be totally fucked when the other shoe drops? Just imagine how cool video games will be in 10 years. And just wait around for that, buddy. Okay, this is the search warrant. In the matter of the search of the premises located at the office of the clerk of court, search warrant, case number, under seal. Anyway, okay. 2, Special Agent Hugh Raymond Evans and any authorized officer in the United States. An affidavit having been made before me by Special Agent Hugh Raymond, who has reason to believe that on the property or premises known as the premises located at there is now concealed certain property, certain data, and certain information, namely, see attachment B, which constitutes evidence of the commission of a criminal offense and property, which has been used as the means of committing a criminal offense concerning violations of Title 52, United States Code Sections 20701. Okay, hold on. 522071. Retention and preservation of records and papers by officers of elections. Deposit with custodian, penalty for violation. Okay, every officer of election shall retain and preserve for a period of 22 months from the date of any general, special, or primary election at which candidates for the office of president. 22 months. Does that matter anymore? And then 200511. A person, including an election official, who in any election for federal office knowingly and willfully intimidates, threatens, or coerces, or attempts to intimidate, threaten, or coerce any person for registering to vote or voting or attempting to register to vote, urging or aiding any person to register to vote, or to attempt to register or vote, or exercising any right under this chapter, or knowingly willfully deprives, defrauds, or attempts to deprive or defraud the residents of a state of a fair and impartially conducted election process by the procurement or submission of voter registration applications that are known by the person to be materially false, fictitious. Jesus. Property to be searched. Attachment B. Particular things to be seized. All records relating to violations of Title 52, including... Oh, shit. Wait. Is this just a way for them to get, like, the voter information? They're just doing it this way? Like, you know how they wanted the voter data for Minnesota? This is just a search warrant way to basically seize it. A federal court, this was January 23rd, 5 days ago. A federal court dismisses the DOJ's lawsuit seeking access to Georgia's unredacted voter registration list. After reviewing the complaint, both parties announced to the court's order to show cause and the applicable law. The court finds it lacks subject matter jurisdiction over this action and dismisses this action without prejudice. District courts, of course, limited jurisdiction may not hear case with the court last year for 79 courts. That was dismissed a few days ago, and so they want all physical ballots from the 2020 general election in Fulton County. Did they really even have to keep them still? It looked like, for the way that the Title 52, the USC 20701, it looks like they only had to keep it for 22 months. Do they still need to have all of them? Including but not limited to absentee ballots to include envelopes, advanced voting ballots, provisional ballots, in-person election day ballots, emergency ballots, damaged or destroyed ballots, duplicated ballots, or any other ballot that was used to cast a vote. Why the fuck? What do they get why do they get this? Wait, what the fuck? All tabulator tapes for every voting machine used in Fulton County, including but not limited to, 0 tapes, opening tapes, closing tapes, and any other tabulator tape printed from a voting machine utilized during the 2020 general election in Fulton County. All ballot images produced during the original ballot count, beginning on November 3rd, 2020, the recount, and any other ballot images that were created from ballot scanning from the 2020 general election in Fulton County, and all voter rolls from the 2020 general election in Fulton County from absentee, early voting, in person, and any other voter roll that indicates voters to whom an absentee ballot was issued, from whom an absentee ballot was received, or who participated in advance voting or election day voting. That's just everybody who voted, right? In person. Yeah, that's everybody who voted. Unbelievable. This warrant authorizes a review of electronic storage media and electronically stored information seized or copied pursuant to this warrant in order to locate evidence, fruits, and instrumentalities described in the warrant. Review of this electronic data may be conducted by any government personnel assisting in the investigation. What? Is that normal? I don't know what a search warrant ordinarily looks like. Who may include, in addition to law enforcement officers and agents, attorneys for the government, attorney support staff, and technical experts. Pursuant to this warrant, the FBI may deliver a complete copy of the seized or copied electronic data to the custody and control of attorneys for the government and their support staff for their independent review. Why? For what? What? Is that normal? Where are my lawyers at? Could a police department execute a search warrant on my apartment, and as part of the search warrant, they're allowed to just hand off whatever the fuck they find to anybody they fucking want? Wouldn't that have to, I would imagine that would have to stay in her department. That would be my guess, if just vibing it out. What about when they have to hire an expert to testify? They have to see the stuff. Well, I imagine the FBI, do you think they in-house a lot of this, or do they actually just hire external experts? It can't be this broad, no? I guess the issue is, I'm thinking from the perspective of the Trump admin, if this was like a normally functioning FBI, then I guess you need to hire experts. I don't know what attorneys for the government means. Does that just mean people working in the DOJ, or does that mean like White House attorneys? I don't know. Ugh. I don't know, man. I don't know why this cunt was there. Why the fuck is she here? I'm so confused. The FBI agents brought giant saws to a building where records are stored, according to a video taken by witness. Bro, we're about to see a legendary conspiracy concocted. We're about to see the craziest conspiracy of all time concocted by these people. Jesus Christ. The FBI is seeking to seize numerous records from the 2020 election. It cites stiff criminal penalties related to the procurement, casting, or tabulation of ballots. This is already a conspiracy. It's just a real conspiracy, not just their... No. We're going to see it's going to come out where they're going to be like, we just went through all of the voter things in Fulton County, and we cross-referenced it with the list that we seized from Maduro's office when we kidnapped him or whatever, arrested him. And according to what we found, like 27,000 different voters came right from Maduro's fake voter rolls, like he said the whole time, from the Dominion Venezuelan voting machines or whatever.
I'm asking what these are. We're senators who represent Fulton County. I'm just curious. Do you know what evidence you're collecting? Do you guys mind me asking what these are? We're senators who represent Fulton County. I'm just curious.
I'm just going to collect evidence.
Do you know what evidence you're collecting?
I don't. I haven't read anything yet.
Okay. Do you know, what's the point of the search? Do you know? Can you tell us what types of documents you're trying to get?
We can send over, you can refer any of our questions to the public affairs officer.
Okay.
She should be on the front side of the building.
Okay.
At least she was.
All right.
I saw the square.
Okay. Thank you.
PAO.
Thank you.
What's the wording on the the 22nd Amendment? Which one is it? Like, it must say you can only run for 2 terms, right? It wouldn't be like you can't run for a third or something, right? What if he's like, well, since I already won 3 and nobody challenged me on it, then I should be able to run for a 4th. I don't know. DOJ reform needed. We the people. Wow. The scales of justice. Pinned tweet from Greg. 2026 needs to be the year of accountability for the numerous perpetrators. The clock is ticking. Let's call the resignation of Lindsay Halligan at DOJ, Eastern District of Virginia, for what it is, a victory for the corrupt deep state, which includes bad actors in the judiciary, U.S. Senate and DOJ, and allies in corporate mainstream new media, overwhelmingly left-wing Democrat progressives and socialist neoliberals, neoconservatives, open border globalists, rhinos, and others who are virulently anti-Trump/MAGA/America first. American first. I am hopeful the grand jury convened by Jason Redding, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, will indict a large number of persons inside and outside the government who engaged in multiple un-American RICO conspiracies and other crimes against Trump and literally thousands of other innocent Americans over the past 10 years. This guy writes so much for having 1 like. Joined January 2026, 1,393 posts. Wow, what an active tweeter. What is that, almost 40 posts plus a day? Destiny, I've heard you say before that conspiracies at this scale require too many moving parts to work. It does yes, and that's true. In order for all of this type of stuff to work, we're imagining that an order goes from the President of the United States to get stuff seized from Fulton County. So what would that require? Well, we would have to imagine that the President, that him doing that would be signed off by people in his immediate vicinity. So people like J.D. Vance, who's on record saying he would have helped Trump overturn the election, and people like Stephen Miller, who say that Trump won the election in 2020, and perhaps a cabinet where I don't think a single person admitted that Trump actually lost the 2020 election. It would require people like Tulsi Gabbard, who was complicit in essentially fabricating the conclusion of a report about Obama faking evidence of some Russia collusion thing to hurt Trump, despite the fact that none of that came out until after Trump was elected. It would require, more directly, a corrupt attorney general who's willing to take orders from Trump directly, like Pam Bondi, who we've seen Trump give explicit orders to insofar as who to indict and who to use to indict them, and for what charges they should be indicted for on Truth Social. Then it would take a corrupt FBI, somebody headed by a person like Kash Patel, who is on record mass purged FBI investigators and detectives merely for being involved with investigations related to Trump in the past. And then it would require some corrupt prosecutor to file the case, similar to how we've seen people like Lindsay Halligan, who's now no longer even a qualified prosecutor. And then there were a couple other these jokers whose names I should remember, who have sometimes failed to secure an indictment from a grand jury when the meme was always it's even a ham sandwich can be indicted. So to answer your question, yes, these types of things are just basically not possible because you would have to have so many levels of corruption and not like you're guessing, but you'd have to be able to point to specific examples of that corruption at every single level before you're even remotely close to saying something like this could happen. The problem is we've very easily cleared the hurdle on every single one of those stages at this point. The other 2 huge checks that would prevent something like this from happening would be a Congress that would act without fear and with accountability and would hold the president accountable. So we would look at the majority party in the House and we would look at Mike Johnson. Well, now we see he's basically abdicated his role and is willing to cover for the president, even going so far as to wait a month to sit a democratically elected Democratic representative to prevent a vote on those Epstein files. We would have to see some collaborative corrupt behavior between Republicans in Congress and the DOJ, maybe like Congress passing a law to release a whole bunch of Epstein files that the DOJ basically gives them the finger for and says no. We could look at the media and we could see if the media is capable of holding either of these parties accountable. But then we have a White House press room that's filled with a bunch of Trump dick suck sycophants where half the questions are just there to appease the king or Caroline Leavitt. The problem is that like we've gone like every single part. The problem is just like you couldn't have done this before and Trump won. Again, like I mean, you can see like they were just real people in the first Trump cabinet. These were real people.
Last week, received specific. The department, in fact,
Bill Barr is just, don't make no mistake. This guy is not like a fucking liberal or whatever. This guy is a massive fucking right-wing president power expander.
Video. The department, in fact, when we received specific and credible allegations of fraud, made an effort to look into these to satisfy ourselves.
Keep in mind, I just can't even imagine. As much as Bill Barr might be a imagine going from Bill Barr, William Barr, this career accomplished guy, to fucking cunt Bandy. Unbelievable. Fucking, or Bondi, Pam Bondi. What an unfathomable downgrade in Attorney General firepower. Unbelievable. But when he's talking about the fraud they've gone through, keep in mind, he's talking about the fraud that somehow the FBI secured a search warrant for to go and look for again now, right?
Of fraud, made an effort to look into these to satisfy ourselves that they were without merit. And I was in the posture of trying to figure out.
Are you saying they couldn't have done this because of what Trump did in his first presidency? No, I'm saying that in his first presidency, Trump didn't know what the president could do. He didn't know anything about government. So he thought that if he just had like a bunch of people that were on his side, that he could do whatever he wants. But he can't. These guys have real jobs and real roles. Despite the dick sucks that I debate on the Nick Rekieta and all these other fake lawyer people that went to tier 500 law schools, I guess, and practiced for 2 months in some shitty office before making a living on YouTube covering the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. Like, these guys were real people with integrity. There was a separation between the president and the attorney general. You can't order your attorney general around. That's cock sleeve stuff. Bill Barr, again, for all his faults, is not here to take orders for the president of the United States. It's an insanely improper thing to do. You always have a big separation there.
There was an avalanche of all these allegations of fraud that built up over a number of days, and it was like playing whack-a-mole because something would come out one day and then the next day it would be another issue. Also, I was influenced by the fact that all the early claims that I understood were completely bogus and silly and usually based on complete misinformation. And so I didn't consider the quality of claims right out of the box to give me any feeling that there was really substance here.
For the first time.
Keep in mind, and the J6 committee, they mistakenly emphasize this over and over again, but it doesn't matter because they say, well, these are Republicans, and they're saying it. But in MAGA's mind, you're either a Trump sycophant loyalist or you're an anti-American person, right? The J6 Select Committee, they're smart, they are correct. If there was any way that Bill Barr could have kept Trump as president, he would have done it. If there was any way. Bill Barr is like Elena or whatever, talking to Jamie Lannister before she dies, where she's like, I've done terrible things to keep my family safe. But Cersei's done things I couldn't even imagine doing. Where Cersei is Pam Bondi and Bill Barr he just can't even think of, if there was any way that there was a light at the end of the tunnel for Trump here, he would have seen it. Absolutely, he would have seen it.
Time since the election, the Attorney General spoke personally with the president on November 23rd, and this was at the White House. Let's play the video, please.
So on November 23rd, I hadn't spoken to the president since the election. And in fact, as I said...
I remember this too. I think Trump... I'm to the timeline. Trump made some statement to the media about something. And I think Bill Barr got so triggered. I think he called like an AP reporter. And he was like, that day, he was like, come, we're going to have a meeting. We're going to chat because this is bullshit. And then I think the next day, Trump screamed at Barr and was like, you need to get the fuck out. And then Barr resigned. Talking to the Associated Press, Bill Barr, I think, made this meeting. Oh, man.
Sorry, the middle of October, roughly. And it was a little getting awkward because obviously he had lost the election and I hadn't said anything to him. And so Cipollone said, I think it's time you come over here. And so I came over to meet with the president in the Oval Office, and Meadows and Cipollone were there. And the president... And this is leading up to this conversation with Kushner. The president said there had been major fraud and that as soon as the facts were out, the results of the election would be reversed. And he went on this for quite a while, as he's prone to do. And then he got to something that I was expecting, which is to say that apparently the Department of Justice doesn't think that it has a role of looking into these fraud claims. And I said, that has to be the campaign that raises that with the state. The department doesn't take side in elections, and the department...
Because Trump doesn't know what anybody does. In Trump's mind, The Department of Justice is here as my personal, I guess, legal team, but that's not what the DOJ is for, you retarded fuck. The Department of Justice is here to represent the United States of America in court cases. That's it. They're not here to take positions on elections. It's not your personal watchdog to go and do investigations for whatever the fuck. You as an individual, as a candidate in a campaign, might have standing to raise some issue with the state if you think something was done unfairly, but unless you're alleging a crime or have some evidence for a crime, it's not the Department of Justice that needs to take a position on this. But nobody in this country, especially Donald Trump, has any fucking idea how any part of the government functions. In his mind, his personal attorneys, Giuliani and Eastman and Sidney Powell, all were operating in the same capacity as the fucking attorney general.
It's not an extension of your legal team, and our role is to investigate fraud, and we'll look at something if it's specific, credible, and could have affected the outcome of the election, and we're doing that, and it's just not. They're just not meritorious. They're not panning out. And as I walked out of the Oval Office, Jared was there with Dan Scavino, who ran the president's social media, and who I thought was a reasonable guy and believe is a reasonable guy. And I said, how long is he going to carry on with this stolen election stuff? Where's this?
Well, apparently 6 years.
Go. And by that time, Meadows had caught up with me and leaving the office and caught up with me and said that he said, look, I think that he's becoming more realistic and knows that there's a limit to how far he can take this. And then Jared said, yeah, we're working on this. We're working on it.
Even after his attorney general told him his claims of election fraud were false, President Trump continued to promote these claims.
I felt that things continued to deteriorate between the 23rd and the weekend of the 29th. And then on November 29th, he appeared on Maria Bartiromo's show, Sunday Futures, I believe it was.
Oh my God.
And he said that the department was missing in action.
Well, no, we had glitches where they moved thousands of votes from my account to Biden's account. And these are glitches. So they're not glitches, they're theft. They're fraud, absolute fraud. This election was over, and then they did dumps. They call them dumps, big, massive dumps in Michigan and Pennsylvania. And all over. How the FBI and Department of Justice, I don't know, maybe they're involved, but how people are allowed to get away from this with this stuff is unbelievable.
Now, spurred by what he saw, Barr told the Associated Press on December 1st that there was no evidence of election fraud.
That was the meeting that Barr said. Yeah.
Immediately after, Attorney General Barr's statement went public, Mr. Trump berated and he nearly fired Barr.
And
but
then
Barr
Barr
persisted in telling the president that there was no evidence to support the fraud claims.
This got under my skin, but I also felt it was time for me to say something. So I set up a lunch with the AP reporter, Mike Balsamo, and I told him at lunch, I made this statement that...
Fuck me. Well, I guess no one gives a fuck about reporting in this country, but if you were a media guy and you get a call from Bill Barr saying, I want to sit and have an interview, this shit is fucked. What an amazing interview to get. But not that any of it matters, I guess.
To date, we have not seen fraud on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in the election. I had a later meeting scheduled at the White House at 3 o'clock with Meadows. This was previously scheduled, so I knew this was going to come up, and I went over there and I told my secretary that I thought I would probably be fired and told not to go home. I mean, not to go back to my office. So I said, you might have to pack up for me. And so when I got over there, I met with the chief of staff. He said the president was angry. He didn't really get into the issue of the fraud. And then I went up to Pat Cipollone's office and we were talking with each other. So
many thousands, tens of thousands of hours of testimony for this committee. Nothing from the Trump loyalists. All of them plead the fifth. Go look at Charlie Kirk or I think Fuentes. January 6th, select committee. Charlie Kirk deposition. Did he do a deposition for this? Or was it just, it was. He did. Fifth Amendment, 73 times. Fifth, fucking cowards. All of the Trump loyalists. Fucking cowards. Not a single fucking question did any of these fucking losers answer.
Came down that he wanted us both to go to the Oval, and the president was as mad as I've ever seen him, and he was trying to control himself. And the president said, well, this is killing me. You didn't have to say this. You must have said this because you hate Trump. You hate Trump. And then he raised the big vote dump, as he called it.
There's nothing in Trump's mind. You're either loyal or you're not. There are no principles. There are no values. There is no character. It's just, do you like me or do you hate me? If you like me, you should do anything possible for me, right? Again, this is why his first term was so unsuccessful, quote unquote, why it wasn't as catastrophic as people thought it would be. Well, even in a lot of ways, it was worse than people could have ever thought it could have been. But it was because Trump didn't know he needed to pick zombies to fill his cabinet.
Said this because you hate Trump. You hate Trump. And then he raised the big vote dump, as he called it, in Detroit. And that, he said people saw boxes coming into the counting station at all hours of the morning and so forth. And I explained to him that at that point I knew the exact number of precincts in Detroit. I think it was 630 something. I said
every single one of these claims was investigated and debunked. Some of them within hours. All the Georgia stuff, all the Fulton County stuff within hours. Giuliani, who was in charge of making two of the biggest claims against Shea Moss and Ruby Freeman, lost $136 million defamation case against both of them. And his defense in that was that it was my First Amendment right to lie. I don't have to tell the truth here. It doesn't matter. $148 million judgment. It was Shea Moss, Ruby Freeman. What does this mean? Oh, he reached a settlement agreement with both of them. Yeah, Fuentes' was also all Fifth Amendment platings as well.
Mr. President, there are 630 precincts in Detroit, and unlike elsewhere in the state, they centralized the counting process, so they're not counted in each precinct. They're moved to counting stations, and so the normal process would involve boxes coming in at all different hours. So there's nothing. And I said, did anyone point out to you? Did all the people complaining about it point out to you you actually did better in Detroit than you did last time? I mean, there's no indication of fraud in Detroit. And I told him that the stuff that his people were shoveling out to the public was bullshit. I mean, that the claims of fraud were bullshit. And, he was indignant about that. And I reiterated that they wasted a whole month on these claims on the Dominion voting machines, and they were idiotic claims. And I specifically raised the Dominion voting machines, which I found to be among the most disturbing allegations, disturbing in the sense that I saw absolutely zero basis for the allegations, but they were made in such a sensational way that they obviously were influencing a lot of people, members of the public, that there was this systemic corruption in the system and that their votes didn't count and that these machines controlled by somebody else were actually determining it, which was complete nonsense. And it was being laid out there. And I told them that it was crazy stuff and they were wasting their time on that. And it was doing a grave disservice to the country.
Okay, so the very next day, the president released a video rehashing some of the very same claims that his chief law enforcement officer had told him were, quote, nonsense.
Here's an example. This is Michigan. At 6:31 in the morning.
What a fucking loser, dude. December 2nd, he already lost. What an unbelievable fucking loser.
A vote dump of 149,772 votes came in unexpectedly. We were winning by a lot. That batch was received in horror. We have a company that's very suspect. Its name is Dominion. With the turn of a dial or the change of a chip, you can press a button for Trump.
These same bullshit fucking claims, the same claims were made on the January 6th. Tens of thousands of votes. This act coincided with a mysterious vote dump of up to 100,000 votes for Joe Biden. Almost none for Trump. Michigan suddenly reported 147,000 votes. Such gigantic and one-sided vote dumps were only observed in a few swing states.
And the vote goes to Biden. What kind of a system is this?
Barr again told the president that there was nothing to these claims on December 14th.
When I walked in, sat down, he went off on a monologue saying that there was now definitive evidence involving fraud.
Imagine telling your attorney general, this is like me going to the doctor and telling the doctor like what my diagnosis is. Like, hey, so I know you ran those MRIs and everything, but like I just want to tell you, I know exactly what's going on, okay? Whatever your machine said is bullshit. Imagine going to your attorney general, the Department of Justice is what sits on top of like the FBI and everything else, right? Imagine going to that guy on top of all that and be like, hey, listen, we've proven this. It's like, excuse me, sir? Who? That's my job. What the fuck have you proven?
Through the Dominion machines. And a report had been prepared by a very reputable cybersecurity firm, which he identified as Allied Security Operations Group, and he held up the report, and then he asked that a copy of it be made for me. And while a copy was being made, he said, this is absolute proof that the Dominion machines were rigged. The report means that I'm going to have a second term. And then he gave me a copy of the report, and as he talked more and more about it, I sat there flipping through the report and looking through it. And to be frank, it looked very amateurish to me. Didn't have the credentials of the people involved, but I didn't see any real qualifications. And the statements were made very conclusory, like these machines were designed to engage in fraud or something to that effect. But I didn't see any supporting information for it, and I was somewhat demoralized because I thought, well, if he really believes this stuff, he has lost contact with he's become detached from reality. If he really believes this stuff. On the other hand, when I went into this and would tell him how crazy some of these allegations were. There was never an indication of interest in what the actual facts were. In my opinion then, and my opinion now, is that the election was not stolen by fraud. And I haven't seen anything since the election that changes my mind on that, including the 2000 Mules movie.
I mean, come on. It's such a joke. Look at the difference in caliber. You've got Pam Bondi, who might have so much lip filler and Botox injected into her head. I don't know how much brain matter's left. The caliber of difference between like the people, between people who actually know what the fuck is up and know what the fuck is going on. Like, it's like, this is a joke. And he knows it's a joke. This is all such a fucking joke.
That changes my mind on that, including the 2000 Mules movie.
Well, maybe you can assess that 2,000 mules since people are talking about that.
Well, I mean, just in a nutshell, I just think that the GBI was unimpressed with it. And I was similarly unimpressed with it because I think I was holding my fire on that to see what the photographic evidence was, because I thought, well, hell, if they have a lot of photographs of the same person dumping a lot of ballots in different boxes, that's hard.
Oh shit, that was my point. Oh no, I probably osmosis that from him. Didn't I get to ask Dinesh that? I think in our debate, I was like, why the fuck didn't you guys follow around and just get like one person dropping off ballots? I'm like, just one person. Why wouldn't you do that? That would make your whole film 1 billion times more credible. Why would you work so hard to get up to this point and then stop? You've built such a great hypothesis. Why not find one person going to all these ballot boxes? Why would you not do this?
Explain. So I wanted to see what the photographic evidence was, but the cell phone data is singularly unimpressive. I mean, basically, if you take 2 million cell phones and figure out where they are physically in a big city like Atlanta or wherever,
you're going to find,
by definition, you're going to find many hundreds of them have passed by and spent time in the vicinity of these boxes. And the premise that, if you go by a box, 5 boxes or whatever it was, that's a mule is just indefensible. It by definition, you're going to have hundreds of this. I mean, I saw one contractor said, we figured out that our truck alone would account for 6 cell phone signals. This was some kind of contractor, and our route would take us by these things on a regular basis. So but then when the movie came out, I think the photographic evidence in it was completely I mean, there was a little bit of it, but it was lacking. It didn't establish widespread.
And the 2 people involved that were photographed were legitimate people dropping off legitimate ballots. I think both of whom sued Dinesh, and which is why that film is not in circulation anymore, because the production company, I think, took it down.
Illegal harvesting. The other thing is people don't understand is that it's not clear that even if you can show harvesting, that changes the results of the election.
That too.
Of course, you're not going to throw out votes.
Yeah.
And then figure out what votes were harvested and throw them out. You'd still the burden on the challenging party to show that illegal votes were cast. Votes were the result of undue influence or bribes, or there was really, the person was non compos mentis. But absent that evidence, I just didn't see courts throwing out votes anyway. I felt that before the election, it was possible to talk sense to the president. And while you sometimes had to engage in a big wrestling match with him, that it was possible to keep things on track. But I felt that after the election, he didn't seem to be listening, and I didn't think it was, that I was inclined not to stay around if he wasn't listening to advice from me or his other cabinet secretaries.
So on December 14th.
And then this is where, you see, I guess like that one meeting on, what was it, January 3rd? That meeting that they had where all of these lawyers were like, was Hershman the guy's name? Trump was trying to basically appoint some guy as the new acting attorney general to get him to do all of his stupid fucking retarded shit. That's when you had, like, everybody around Trump they were still real guys. These were real people. They were real people. So when this Jeffrey Clark guy, who was like some fucking, like, associate attorney general, like head of the environmental law division, I don't think this guy touched a criminal case in his life. When Trump was like, I should make this guy the attorney general, every other person in the room, like, roast the fuck out of this guy. Because, like, this is a fucking joke. This guy is, how the fuck, and now, but that guy is now everybody in the Department of Justice.
But President Trump did find one candidate at Justice who seemed willing to do anything to help him stay in power.
I hate all
President
this.
Trump's own lawyer, Eric Hershman, had to say about Jeff Clark's plan to overturn the election.
And when he finished discussing what he planned on doing, I said, good a-hole. Congratulations, you just admitted a first step in your act you take as Attorney General would be committing a felony and violating Rule 6C. You're clearly the right candidate for this job.
So who's Jeff Clark? An environmental lawyer with no experience relevant to leading the entire Department of Justice. What was his only qualification? That he would do whatever the president wanted him to do, including overthrowing a free and a fair democratic election.
Jeffery X. I wonder what this guy's Twitter account looks like. Please watch the new documentary about my struggle fighting against the Democrats trying to destroy me, because I am a strong Trump supporter and thought Georgia investigating its election in 2020 at a deeper level was worth doing. Fearless at the point of attack. The Jeff Clark story.
Jeff Clark is being attacked because he's so strong and so... Good.
They are destroying and have destroyed the rule of law in America, and they were using our judicial system in order to prosecute and persecute
It's really all
President
stars
Trump
in here, huh?
and anyone who supported him.
The punishment and the pain that has been inflicted on him in his life is so important to the regime.
Thanks, Matt.
Because they want to set a deterrent.
If President Trump had sailed off into the sunset,
Who else?
none of this would have happened.
But his key ally in this is this guy, Jeffery Clark, but who is effectively plotting a coup with the president.
You can tell he's a bad guy. Interesting. I was supposedly told that no further investigations of Fulton County, Georgia were warranted. Just in, Vice President J.D. Vance compares the left's obsession with abortion to the child sacrifice of the Mayans, says every child is wonderfully made by God. The fuck is this? Yuval Noah Harari, speaking at the World Economic Forum, just said that AI will soon take control of the Bible and all the words written in it. The Bible absolutely accepts that challenge. Game on. Wait, what the fuck? This is very sad. Pray for the repose of his soul and for his family members. Scott Adams, rip. Lord, please give Scott Adams Says a miracle or bring him swiftly into your presence and wipe away all his suffering. We pray he gets to hear you call him a good and faithful servant. And President Trump has led the way on ending the disastrous global war on the internal combustion engine. Europe is following suit. Trump, American energy dominance is back. I just started watching Ken Burns' documentary, The American Revolution. Knowing his political leanings, I paid close attention to the details. One moment immediately stood out in episode 1. In discussing the First Continental Congress and the delegates from the 13 colonies, historian Stacy Schiff described them as people essentially from different countries and different religions. That framing is factually wrong. Distinct Christian denominations are not different religions, and the 13 colonies were not foreign nations to one another. Presenting them this way subtly reframes the American founding as a product of multiculturalism. This is a soft Marxist reinterpretation of history, one that distorts the every single one of these guys, you can always look up their shit and like they're all fucking crazy. All of them are fucking insane. They're all crazy.
President Trump's campaign to bend the Justice Department to his political will culminated in a showdown on January 3rd. Today, we will take you inside that early evening Oval Office meeting where top Justice Department officials met with the president. At stake, the leadership and integrity of the Department of Justice.
The meeting took about another 2.5 hours from the time I entered. It was entirely focused on whether there should be a DOJ leadership change. I was sitting directly in front of the president. Jeff Rosen was to my right, Jeff Clark was to my left. He looked at me and underscored, well, the one thing we know is you're not going to do anything. You don't even agree that the concerns that are being presented are valid. And here's someone who has a different view. So why shouldn't I do that? That's how the discussion went.
Trump was just ass paying that nobody would like lie to everybody for him. Trump is like, I have all you people here. Really? Nobody is going to just take care of this little election thing for me?
Jeff Clark was proposing that Jeff Rosen be replaced by Jeff Clark. And I thought the proposal was asinine.
What were Clark's purported bases for why it was in the president's interest for him to step in? What would he do? How would things change, according to Mr. Clark in the meeting?
He repeatedly said to the president that if he was put in the seat, he would conduct real investigations that would, in his view, uncover widespread fraud.
Keep in mind, this is January 3rd. The ECA, the Electoral Count Act dictates that the votes to be counted for certifying the election are in 3 days. This is January 3rd.
He would send out the letter that he had drafted, and that this was a last opportunity to sort of set things straight with this defective election, and that he could do it, and he had the intelligence and the will and the desire to pursue these matters in the way that the president thought most appropriate.
And he was making a pitch, and every time he'd get clobbered over the head, he would say a call to order, the president's your decision, you get the chance to make this decision, and you've heard everybody and you can make your determination. And then we jump back in and really clobber him.
I made the point that Jeff Clark is not even competent to serve as the attorney general. He's never been a criminal attorney. He's never conducted a criminal investigation in his life. He's never been in front of a grand jury, much less a trial jury.
Right? He has no experience to do this, right? And what do we see now with the DOJ now that are all Trump sycophants, right? They can't get indictments. They can't prosecute the ham sandwich guy. They couldn't get a conviction on the subway killer, the subway thrower.
And he kind of retorted by saying, well, I've done a lot of very complicated appeals and civil litigation, environmental litigation, and things like that. And I said, that's right, you're an environmental lawyer. How about you go back to your office and we'll call you when there's an oil spill. And Pat Cipollone weighed in at one point, I remember saying, that letter that this guy wants to send, that letter is a murder-suicide pact. It's going to damage everyone who touches it. And we should have nothing to do with that letter. I don't ever want to see that letter again. And so we went along those lines.
I thought Jeff's proposal, Clark's proposal, was nuts. I mean, this guy, at a certain point, listen, the best I can tell is the only thing you know about environmental and elections challenges is they both start with E. And based on your answers tonight, I'm not even certain you know that.
The president said, suppose I do this, suppose I replace him.
This guy's just getting raped. Because all of these people are real people. These are all real people with long histories of public service, of being real lawyers, graduating from real law schools, doing real litigation, doing criminal-related matters. Like,
with him, Jeff Clark. What do you do?
He's just fucking crazy, bro. How the fuck did we even get off on this? I can't believe that they're going to Fulton County, I guess. Whatever.
So on the other hand, when you get to Biden, what in the world did he do? So like that whole like no enforcement at the border was madness. And I think that there's a couple of problems there. Number one was he was giving into this extreme left that is like, so, like if you're on the right, guys, you see a caricature of the left. The folks will take 1, 2, max 10% of the left that are the most extreme and say, oh, that's all of the left. By the way, the left does it to the right too. They'll take the most extreme right winger and pretend that's all Trump voters.
I don't even want to. He has no place. He's just not on our team. If you're still doing the both sides at this point, you are fundamentally brain raped, and you're gone. You have no more chances. If you're doing the both sides thing at this point, I don't know why anybody would take you seriously in media. I don't know why anybody would take you seriously in anything. Fuck me. Why am I still streaming? Can I sleep?
Right. So what I'm trying to get people to see is no, 80% of the country's in the middle, right? So the extreme left wanted almost no law enforcement at the border, and we would have debates with the extreme left. We'd be like, what do you mean no enforcement? Then we'll have 3 billion people in the country. It's just totally unsustainable. You have to have a border, right? And so Biden screwed that up, mainly because of that. So on the other hand, when you get to Biden, what in the world did he do? So like that whole like what do you mean no enforcement? You have to have a border. Biden screwed that up partly.
Oh, also, I'm going to make a prediction, and it might happen before I come back because I'm traveling too, so the worst things are going to happen, and I think I know what it might be.
Life in the White House. It's a big deal, actually.
What was Tulsi Gabbard doing at an election center in Georgia today?
She's working very hard on trying to keep the election safe, and she's done a very good job. And they, as you know, they got into the votes and they signed judge's order in Georgia, and you're going to see some interesting things happening. They've been trying to get there for a long time.
You know what's happening. Do you know why Tulsi's there? Tulsi is like I hate that I'm saying this. She's like a smarter version of Pam Bondi. She might be a foreign agent. Who the fuck knows? Tulsi Gabbard was the one who was willing to put together the entire essentially fabricated narrative about the Obama Russia hoax thing. Basically the lie, using a few released documents that they really didn't even redact them well. If you read the documents, you could see that the conclusion that she was printing wasn't what was actually to be inferred from the documents. She's just lying. But she was willing to cook up that entire big, broad conspiracy for Trump. So they probably have her working on something similar for Fulton County in the 2020 election. Now, what they're hoping to do with that, who the fuck knows? Like, where do you go from, like, if you think that Biden was illegally elected, do you get rid of every piece of legislation, every executive order and command, who the fuck knows what you could possibly do with that piece of information if you so decide? I don't know. I have no idea. Is the next election play going to be that DNI and Gabbard found 2020 election fraud, and since Trump was cheated out of the 2020 election, it's not that he'll have a third term where he's elected, per language of 22nd Amendment, but the term that was stolen will be restored, canceling the next elections due to national security. Trump will use National Guard/ICE to prevent the Congress from enacting any election vote stuff. Maybe, although I don't think Trump wants another term. I really do think he's too old. I don't know if he's going to survive to the end of this. Maybe they would try to get Vance or something, or maybe there might be somebody else running this idea. Like the concept that Trump he won that election, nobody intelligent believes this. Everybody knows this is bullshit. But the people around him might see that as a useful vehicle to try to insert themselves somehow in 2028. I think that, I think they're looking to do something with that. It could be, the thing is, I just don't think they can do this because it's such a grand operation. But if they can fabricate enough bullshit for quote unquote election fraud, if they can fabricate that, maybe they can use that as an excuse for why the federal government needs more control or oversight over all the states' elections when they do the midterms. So for instance, maybe they push through a very dramatic like national level voter ID scheme or something that obviously each state could figure out how restrictive they want to make it to fuck over whoever's voting. Possibly, like who knows? I'm not sure what's going on with the Fulton County warrant.
Tulsi Gabbard there. Why is Tulsi Gabbard there? What could she have to do with this case?
Okay, Katie, I want to get to Tulsi, but let me...
Tulsi being there is very scary because the only plausible connection that I am aware of that Tulsi Gabbard can have there is Tulsi Gabbard is the director of national intelligence. This warrant was carried out by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The FBI technically sits within the Department of Justice. However, there is an intelligence section of the FBI intelligence, that reports to the director of national intelligence related to, I don't know 100% what they're related to, but if it's an intelligence related thing, and they're trying to claim that some foreign operator was doing some bad election related shit, and they have Hugo Chavez, or not Hugo Chavez, I'm sorry, if they also have Nicolas Maduro or whatever in prison right now for who knows how long, like I don't know if all of this comes together in a really, really, really stupid way.
Let me just say about the raid itself, your previous reporter is right. You can try to get a search warrant. But there are two facts that also ought to be reported on this bizarre raid. One is that it's been reported, at least, that the FBI head of the field office in Atlanta, which includes Fulton County, has suddenly either quit or been fired. So to me, that smells like
the local FBI guy didn't want to go through with some obvious bullshit, so they found another guy who would.
Local FBI guy didn't think this passed muster, and we need to get the answer on that.
How reliable is that report? Is that true that the field office in Atlanta or whatever, that guy's gone?
And traditionally, when you bring a search warrant like this, the person who is prosecuting the case is the local U.S. attorney. Well, the U.S. attorney that signed on this search warrant to go to the judge is the U.S. attorney from Missouri.
That seems strange. They got a warrant. Wait, hold on. The U.S. attorney who signed onto this case.
On this search warrant to go to the judge is the U.S. attorney from Missouri.
I guess it probably doesn't matter. Prosecutors can probably move throughout all the federal venues, maybe? That's weird. Maybe? Is that weird?
If you talk about something that, at least at the front end, smells really bad, and the concern from the local officials about what is going to happen to their election returns and data, this thing stinks. Then we get to Tulsi Gabbard. And again, your reporters are right. Her job is to look at foreign interference in our elections and to oversee all of the bad guy efforts in terms of spying. And the remarkable thing that needs to be reinforced to all of your listeners and viewers is that Tulsi Gabbard, over this last year, has literally taken apart what was called the Foreign Malign Influence Center, the center inside the intelligence community that was supposed to look at potential voter interference.
A MAGA guy bought the Dominion company in Missouri a few months ago to line this angle up. Yeah, it was sold off, I remember. You think they're trying to find evidence for the 2020 election or the upcoming midterms? Oh, no. They want to fuck with something going forward. Every time they did, remember, the reason why you want to control history is because from history, you get your justifications to act in whatever way you want, right? That's why the Palestinians and the Israelis fight over their history. It's why Hitler wanted to rewrite the Wilhelmine Empire history or whatever. It's why everybody wants to rewrite history, because because once you say what's happened in history, then you can give people a feeling or a justification, whatever the fuck going forward, right? Or why Putin wants to rewrite Russian, Ukrainian history, whatever. So if they can say that like the 2020 election was stolen, they can use that as a foundation or a basis to fight over whatever stupid fucking changes they want to put in going forward to try to preference them in the midterms. Wait, what is this shit? Mega bill supersizes the federal government's role in election administration. When President Trump issued his March 25th, 2025 executive order on election administration, both Walter Olson and I sympathized with this policy aims, but we wrote that it was unlawfully usurped legislative authority and trampled on federalism. The newly unveiled Make Elections Great Again Act, introduced by Representative Brian Steele, recognizes that the legislative branch, not the executive, is the appropriate forum for changing law. That's great. But the Mega Act, like President Trump's executive order, and like the For the People Act supported by Democrats in 2021, still violates principles of federalism. Election administration is one of the few remaining areas of American policy that is still largely determined by the states. And that's a good thing. Federalism in election administration allows states to recognize their unique attributes, strengthens election security, and it encourages democratic entrepreneurship. It's 83 pages long and imposes federal control over many facets of election administration. So it gets rid of universal mail-in balloting. Can no longer accept mail ballots that are sent on election day, but arrive after election day. States can no longer use ranked choice voting to determine their federal delegation. States can no longer allow voters to give their sealed mail ballot packets to their neighbors for delivery. Not good.
Yes, and Donald Trump had asked his previous attorney general Bill Barr to investigate Brad Raffensperger, which is interesting. The other thing that is curious, and my colleague Ken Delaney and I reported on this last week, the other thing that is curious is the FBI special agent in charge of the office in Atlanta, where this is all happening, was removed by the FBI director last week. And so it's just curious that has happened. We, again, don't know that it's related, but I would feel remiss if I didn't mention it. I do think the fact that Donald Trump wanted to investigate Raffensperger some time ago, that probably that desire has not exactly extinguished.
How does this look? What is this even like? Trump files $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS over alleged tax return leaks to major news outlets. The Department of Justice defends the U.S. government in civil cases as well, right? So is it going to be Pam Bondi defending the U.S. government against her boss, Donald Trump? Is it 100% true that that they gave Ashley Babbitt's family money, like $10 million or some bullshit? U.S. to pay $5 million to family of January 6th rioter. Look at the messages you're sending, bro. You can do all of these things. Trump will pardon you. Like, you understand that this is the equivalent, if Hassan wants to play these games, this is like the equivalent to the fucking martyr fund from the Palestinian Authority. Like, if you die as a martyr against Israel or whatever, it will pay your family money. This is crazy. Holy shit. Dustin, you know how this game works. Trump is suing as an independent citizen, not the president. I know, but it's going to be Trump the citizen suing the U.S. government, but that has to be defended by the Department of Justice. I think even for civil cases, right? Which means it's Trump as a citizen is suing, but then Trump as the president is the boss of Pam Bondi, who would be in charge of the defense, I think, right? I think for civil cases. Does the Department of Justice defend U.S. government civil cases? The Civil Division. Yes, the Department of Justice Civil Division actively defends the U.S. government, its agencies, and federal employees in civil lawsuits. So who's the head? I'm just curious. Just why not? Why not? Just for the memes. Brett A. Schumett. Thank God he doesn't have a Twitter account, at least. That's good.
What do you think about people like Gavin Newsom or other Democrats that might have a chance of winning, going out being like, for anyone doing this insane shit for Trump right now, if you say no, you lose your job. But if you say yes, when we take power, it's like the gulag or perma-jail.
I think they should, 100%. I think that message should be loud and clear. Yeah, 100%.
I think that should be fucking screamed from the fucking rooftops right now to everyone. Like, if you say no, you lose your job. If you say yes, you will lose your freedom when we take power.
Yeah, I agree. Destiny, can he just settle with himself? Is there something stopping him from foisting this to court? Nope, he could. He absolutely could. You could tell Pam, listen, you guys should settle this against me. And he's just stealing money from the U.S. government. Like Trump coin wasn't enough and all the business deals and everything weren't enough. That's basically what he did with X, Facebook. How many other companies did he sue for banning him from social media? It's
Those are like
retarded.
small. Not Twitch, though, funny enough.
Yeah, she should sue for $1 trillion. Why not? And just get a big IOU from the government or whatever.
You're thinking like, what can be done when so much of the population is so fucking stupid and nothing will change their mind ever about this? And I think the answer is it has to come from their own side. Not that Trump tricked them, but that it's easy to trick someone, but it's impossible for to convince someone that they've been tricked. What's the off ramp for an average dipshit that's like a Trump sycophant right now? How do you be like, hey,
the people can't? It's the politicians need to be better people. But if there's like actual consequences for them being literally fucking treasonous, then they would protect against it. They might say some shit publicly, but privately this shit wouldn't fly. There'd be checks, but they think there's no penalties. So if there's no consequence or penalties, then they'll just go along with it because they have no reason not to.
I think like the thing people care about the most is obviously eating, not being hungry, and the value of their assets. And I think for people to like revolt against this shit, I think those things have to go really down the shitter.
Yeah.
People are saying like they weren't tricked, they're getting what they wanted. But even if that wasn't the case, because there's so much goalpost moving, right? Like, oh, we want the Epstein files. Oh, but not anymore, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, how can you, with someone that has been tricked, how do you let them acknowledge that? I feel like you blame someone else for doing something illegal. It's like, hey, wait a second. I just don't know the way, right? Like, I'm trying to think about a way to put this. There is a way to do this.
Yeah, it has to be something illegal or whatever. Like, oh, basically what you have to do is make it so it's impossible for them to have seen it coming, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how could I have known? This is fucking unbelievable that this was the case. And it has to be so sudden and all at once and coordinated from everyone else that there is no air for any other option. Like, for instance, if the entire Republican establishment was like, holy shit, Trump is fucking children, and this news just came out, this is unbelievable. Everyone does that. And then all of a sudden, maybe then you could get everyone to turn on him. But the only way that's going to happen is if the people that are Republicans think either one, that their net worth is going to go down in the shitter, or two, Democrats are about to be elected and they're about to be like mass trials, that type of thing. Unless you really are pushing for both of those things, the economy to go in the shit or that. I don't know why they would ever do it. Because right now I feel like they're at the point where they're like, we're all in. Fuck this democracy.
Yeah.
Like
They are. What do you think about Scott Galloway's idea of a simultaneous economic strike? No one spends money, etc. for a week, would cost billions in lost activity. I don't like the idea. I don't think of a general strike because I feel like, one, it's just not sustainable. It's so spread. And then two, I think I feel like I've read this before. People will just like make up for their lack of consumption like once the strike ends. So if somebody goes like a week without spending $100 on some item, then as soon as that week's over, they'll just instantly spend like $80. So like most of the consumption is recaptured. I think instead of a general strike, I don't know if you need a bunch of Democratic leaders to do this. I think organizing specific strikes and then having like mutual aid for the people striking would be way more effective for stuff that can't be made up. So like if you did like a targeted strike at like 5 or 6, I was gonna say airports, but that might actually be illegal. And then you supported the people, fuck it, who cares if it's illegal actually. And then you supported the people financially who were involved in the strike so that they could maintain it indefinitely. Shutting down that kind of stuff would be very effective, I think, because now you are like you can't just make up for, I'm just going to buy 12 airplane tickets or something like that, you know? But it would have to be some kind of key thing that you could shut it down and then ideally organize financial support for the people involved so that they can maintain it indefinitely. And then that would push for something. But like you need leaders for this, you need a clear vision for what you want to change. And you know.
Let me ask you this. Who are the wealthiest Democrats in America?
I don't know, probably some billionaires like Bill Gates or the Soros family or something.
The real answer to like how you should be saving fucking democracy then is that these guys need to fucking suck it the fuck up and start buying media platforms then. They need to buy out Sinclair. They need to buy out like these major fucking media companies because right now, and then doing it that way.
Cucked. I feel like at that point we're massively cucking ourselves.
We're already, but look at what's happening with.
No, but like at that point, I think
Twitter.
I'd rather just leave. I don't want to be where it's fucking which billionaire owns which fucking social media platform. I think I'm good on that.
Or
point.
at least even the fucking odds.
It's already.
I feel like they're
so cancerous.
Okay, name like I feel like we can name like 100 evil rich Republicans. I feel like I can name like maybe Mark Cuban. I don't even know how much money he has. Bill Gates. Like who else can we really name that's not like that's a Democrat? Who else is there? Wow. Name 5 right now.
Your mom.
Like you literally can't.
What about
it? It's just
they got the money. Yeah.
There's like Elon Musk, Kushner, obviously Trump himself is probably a fucking billionaire. Ramaswamy, wasn't that guy a billionaire?
I think so. Is Kushner really a billionaire?
Yeah, Charles Kushner.
Son-in-law. Damn, that's what. Talk about fucking a rich fuck family.
Ken Griffin. Yep, another one.
What about the Koch brothers? Aren't those guys?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Steve Witkoff.
The Murdoch guy must be, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't he Australian though?
I don't know, but he's American enough to own so much of our shit.
Okay, so who are? Dude, there's fucking like no. Dude. It's look at our team, bro. Nah, we have like fucking Bloomberg.
Is that our team?
That's our team. Michael Bloomberg.
I mean, he ran as a Democrat, but that was like the most conservative Democrat, right? And Bloomberg is by no means like a liberal left-wing publication, I don't think. Isn't Bloomberg like Wall Street Journal-esque, like kind of like center-rightish because it's more economic stuff? Or am I making that up?
I honestly, I don't know the answer, but like this is so like honestly, that's the answer. Is like these fucking billionaire Democrats need to step the fuck up. They do. You know what? All of the fucking insane people already say that you control the media anyways. Nothing's gonna change. Fuck it. Start controlling the fucking media. Fight back a little bit. Make these fucking MAGA retards in the Midwest think that Trump is coming to like rape their children and make their house worth $8.
Damn.
That's what needs to be playing every day. Wouldn't you agree with that?
No, I don't.
Or do you want it? So you prefer how it is right now, where they just lie total opposite way?
Or just disconnect or leave for good.
Well, how about this? How about they just say the truth, not even propaganda?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that.
Okay, so maybe we can just get some Democrats buying the media and just saying the truth.
Okay, let's do it. Based.
All right, so who do we got? How much money you got? We're gonna need a bank to finance this.
We're gonna have to take loans out. Let me rebuild my.
Yep.
Let me check my credit score real quick to see how much I can tap out for a 9-figure, 10-figure loan. 1 sec.
Oh, brother. I wonder how maybe we can get interest only for like the first 5-year period. And oh, brother. I think that's it though. Like if you like, I guess if you control the media and these fuckers figured it out, like you just literally control it all. And now social media is cucked, and local media is cucked, and now the big stations are cucked. So like
we're all just cucked, cuckarino. Did you mention MSNBC yet?
No.
They're
well,
cucked.
I mean, I said the big media, right? All the big media are cucked. You know, the other thing that's interesting, I'm sorry, not MSNBC. I'm so sorry. I meant CBS. Barry Weiss. I was thinking CBS. Sorry, go ahead. The thing that's interesting is like there's all this information over in the past. How have revolutions come to be? But all of those revolutions have come to be without instant access to information, right? Like the Revolutionary War, for the most part, There was no internet back then. They were getting shit by the mail. How are things like? How do revolutions really happen when everything is so instant and also all of the media is like so tightly controlled, right? Like you would say, like, how the fuck is North Korea still operating? And the answer is like, I think when you have extremely tight controls over the media, I don't even know if this type of thing is possible as long as the people are kept like cattle and they're getting fed and they feel like they're happy and they're able to buy the latest iPhone. I feel like there's never strong enough demand to push someone over, as opposed to in the past, because that instant access to media wasn't there, they were able to have these moments of inflection and they see everyone rushing towards the Capitol type of thing. And it's just, I think we might just be fucked. We're literally just frogs being slowly boiled. And there is no inflection point ever.
Possibly. It might, yeah, feels like it.
All right, well, that was it. Man, it really does fucking suck. Because, like, there, like, when you're, like, looking at, like, okay, well, we got this. Right now, obviously, it's waiting for the midterms and hoping. But I think that if at the midterms they do some sneaky shit, and I think that's going to fucking happen.
Well, it won't be sneaky. It'll be out in the open, but it'll be bad.
Well,
Yeah.
it will
they're
be
planning
out
on doing.
out in the open.
Yeah,
Correct,
but I know
yes.
what you mean. Yeah, but they're doing something. This is the pretext to that.
Yeah.
It's what the, well, it's never illegal because of legal theory or whatever. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard is cooking up that next thing. That's why she was at that, that's why she was in Fulton County, 1 trillion, quadrillion %. I guarantee you're going to hear something from her in the next couple of weeks or whatever, or the next few weeks, the next month about something. Hope to God it doesn't involve that fucking Maduro guy, because they're going to find some way to get him to cooperate with some bullshit. Although I don't think so. Maybe not, actually. But who knows, actually? I don't fucking know.
I mean, my take is that if the Democrats are unable to at least take the House, which is like the one thing they're supposed to get, right? So if there's trickery afoot and they don't do it, I think that's just the end, the perma end. I think that like that is like the last, like you've slipped and it is impossible to ever climb back at that point ever.
Well, it's not impossible, but it's whatever happens next probably comes after like an unironic coup or a civil war or something. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I know.
Someone else that like wants to seize power from Trump inside of it. But it's not like it's gonna be like, oh, we're all liberals now. It's just gonna be like, I'm the new Trump now type of thing, like fall of the Soviet Union type shit. Even with the fall of the Soviet Union, you're still in that oligarchy, even there. I think it might literally just be that humans are not destined for democracy and we want to be ruled by
Or,
like,
well, it's not so much that you say not destined for democracy. That's like saying not destined for healthy bodies, right? We just don't have natural defense mechanisms against an excess of easy calories. We don't have natural defense mechanisms against an excess of information, like saturating all of our senses 24/7, you know?
Yeah.
But we have to realize that. People don't like to hear that, so.
I think that like these midterms coming up, like this is, in some ways, it's like more important than the election that we just had, because this is truly the last.
And because we're like on a time scale too, because it's like so much is happening so fast, and it's like, Jesus fuck, yeah.
Like if the midterms, if they don't at least get the House, I think it's unironically over for the United States on that front, because there'll never be another fair election. Like right now, I think there's still people that are like, okay, I kind of don't want to go to jail or, become a traitor and get hung by the next administration. But if the midterms go over and it's like Trump's able to steal it or do something else, there will never be concern from these people again. It will embolden them to a level that will be the end of American democracy. So unless there's just an overwhelming molestation of Republicans on midterms, it's just over. That's it.
Mm-hmm. The prosecutor that's overseeing the FBI investigation into Fulton County is from fucking Missouri. Pam Bondi basically he received a special appointment by Pam Bondi to investigate election integrity cases nationwide, rather than actually going with the U.S. attorney in the Northern District of Georgia.
Is there any indication what they're doing there exactly? Like I understand.
They're seizing
like,
everything. Who the fuck knows? I mean, it's basically just like give me all of your chat logs, give me all your history or whatever, and then I'm gonna see what kind of basic story I can cobble together to fuck you over. Whatever. That's all it's gonna be, right? So it's gonna be them going through all of it and saying like, oh, notice how there's 400,000 people who voted with the last name Smith. That must be fraud. Or notice how there's this or that. It's just gonna be a trillion random pieces of misinformation and bullshit like this, basically.
Dan is being a pessimist. They can't rat fuck 50 state elections.
They don't need to, though. They don't need to do that many. And normally they shouldn't be able to, unless, like I went over this last night, every single check that you have on this is openly and outwardly compromised,
They don't care. Yeah,
The
they don't
DOJ
care.
is, the FBI is, the White House obviously is, the Republicans in Congress don't care and they're not doing anything. And at every stage you have massive compromise. And it's not like you have to be paying attention super closely to see it. It's just if you follow the news, they're very open and blatant about all of it.
You know, we actually, I think this is what we unironically need at this point. We need like the Gavin Newsoms, the other Democrats to just come out and say like, hey, to the Republicans out there that are like just doing this bullshit, like Pam Bondi, etc. When we take power, we are going to trial you, and this is treason. So you want to talk about actually going to jail for the rest of your life? You want to talk about that? That's what we're going to do. If we get power, like you have to make it so fucking crystal clear to these people, because otherwise at the midterms, like all these other people that are fucking not in the position to make these illegal decisions yet, but will be on the midterms, you need to scare them into not fucking doing it. When Trump says, find me the votes, that you need to have these people to say, I don't want to go to jail, I quit. You know, like we need to have like 10 of those happen in a row so that the public sees that happens and they call it out. You have to. And I think you have to fucking scare these people saying that if you do this shit, it's not going to be like last time where like nothing happened. No, you know, we're coming for you to be perma in jail. Literally, it's treason, unironically. I don't see any other way. Like it just has to be pure fear. Like
the problem is that that won't, we should do this, but we're doing it to set ourselves up for next time that this happens. Hopefully it doesn't happen, because right now nobody would even believe it. That's the big issue too, which is one of the big problems. There's been so much forgiveness over and over and over again for the Republicans that, I wish there was a way for states to withhold federal taxes. That would be base. Blue states should start doing that, but I think all of that is handled automatically through the IRS and the Treasury, and the payment systems are all integrated automatically. So that would be funny.
Yeah, yeah, that's the joke, is all the money comes from the blue states. Yes, obviously, but there just has to be fear. If you can put enough fear.
Yeah, but the issue, I understand what you're saying. The only issue is that fear comes from examples.
The belief that this is possible.
Yeah,
well,
but if nobody's done it before, like Democrats, even if they talk really strong, I just don't think Republicans will believe it because it's so unfathomable in the United States.
What do you think would happen right now if Gavin Newsom came out and he said, "Listen, I'm going to be the Democratic nominee. I won't."
Yeah, and if he said, "I'm going to jail you all," you're going to go to. I think they just wouldn't. I still think they wouldn't believe it.
What about if you say like you're not going to get jailed? Like this is literally treason. Like we kill people for treason. Like if
I don't think they'll believe it. Like imagine how different we just had the nicest president in the last 30 years, Biden, right? Everybody in Congress loved this guy. He was like the nicest, friendliest dude. Everybody had good things to say about him when he was the vice president in Congress. Like everybody, even McConnell, I think, had nice things to say about. Like this is the nicest guy ever. To go from that to we're going to start executing you guys, like no one is going to believe it on their side. I think you should message on. I think it's a good message, but we're doing it really to protect us for the next time. Like at this point, they wouldn't believe any threat at all unless something starts happening. Maybe state prosecutions in some states. Like if you had it, like if you want some real serious shit, but this gets crazy or whatever, like. If somebody were to unmask the identity of the two ICE agents, that the one that killed Renee Good and the one that killed I don't know if the Renee Good guy is known, and then the one that killed Preddy, if California had some fucking crack team that was able to abduct those people and deliver them to Minnesota courthouses,
you're talking about like how fucking Israel got people from Argentina.
Kind of, yeah.
After the Holocaust,
or when Batman got the dude from Hong Kong in The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight. Yeah, like that, and drop him off. That would be, because then if Gavin Newsom's saying some shit like this isn't going to stop when I'm president, we're going big on this, then that would be some crazy shit. Yeah, but then you're obviously this is like Civil War tier.
That is Civil War tier. There has to be, if the midterms are lost, like if they can't get the House, it's literally Jover, perma Jover at that point. If they can't at least get the fucking House.
Sure.
And it's a little fucking scary because honestly, I feel like they're going to I don't know what the fuck they're doing in Georgia with these fucking ballots. Like what are they doing with these fucking ballots?
I have no idea. It's so weird. They whatever it is though, it's important because they really want those voter rolls. They've been trying to get them for a decade. They really want all the state's voter information. Remember when Pam Bondi wrote that letter to Walz, the third condition that she gave for them pulling ICE out of Minnesota was access to all of the voter rolls. And now for Georgia, they were trying to get it before and their case got shot down, but now they've gotten it. They just walked in with the FBI and stole it. So they really, whatever they're thinking of doing with them, they think they have some plan. They think they can do something with them because they've been desperate trying to get their hands on them.
What could they possibly want with them? Like in what?
Like I said, it's to fabricate some bullshit ass story.
Sure,
I don't know what it will be. But
hypothetically, it came out Trump actually won the last election. What changes?
Anything.
No one's
you can
gonna
change
believe
whatever
it.
you want. They don't. Well, they have. It's pretextual, so they can say things like, well, since Trump really wanted, Biden didn't. The same thing they try to do with the auto ban. That means that none of Biden's orders were legitimate. So all of these people can be fired, or all of these executive actions can be ignored, or none of the legislation that was passed counts because the real president didn't sign it, or it'll just be shit like this. Yeah.
But I mean, as far as Trump staying in power, which is I think all that Trump gives a fuck about, right? How does that help him?
It doesn't. But I mean, this is for the people around Trump controlling him. We have like an unironic deep state now, but it's not a conspiracy. It's just out in the open. These are things coming from Vance and factions in the White House now who are controlling it. Because again, I don't think, thank God, Trump is so old. I don't think Trump is, I don't know if he's going to survive this term. So
I do feel like we have to be, what is the current situation that we have as far as, assuming no fuckery, where Democrats supposed to be as far as the House and the Senate?
I think the House
Right?
is supposed to be easy, and people are hoping the Senate will be in play, is where it's supposed to be, I think.
So what seats are like, isn't there that like fucking website that shows you?
This is an IRI question. He knows all this shit and he has it memorized. I don't know any of this off the top of my head.
No, but I thought there was like a website that shows like all the seats that are up for re-election for midterms, and you can be like, oh, this is what it should be. Isn't it like one of those like 538 things or something?
Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, they're at 270 to win Senate election.
It's voted in conjunction with the SAVE Act to just get rid of Dem ballots. What was the SAVE Act do again? Requiring individuals to present an eligible photo identification document before voting. Require states to obtain proof of citizenship in person when registering an individual to vote. Requiring states to remove non-citizens from existing voter rolls.
So can you explain to me, because I did like this stupid political compass shit, and it's like, should states have you present ID to vote? And I said, sure, as long as the ID is free. What is the argument against that?
There's no good argument against it. Voter ID is a totally fine thing to push for. Democrats, I think, fight too much against it. It's kind of stupid. It's not that abnormal. But the issue is when Republicans do it, they're just trying to make it so they can fuck over certain groups of people from voting. That's always like the Republican plan.
But how does that help though? Like why is it that Democrats wouldn't have IDs exactly?
I mean, the argument is that you're more likely not to have one if you belong to a certain minority community versus a more affluent community. It's not going to be like 0% of black people have IDs and 100% of white people. But the difference might be like 95% of white America versus like 89% of black America or something like that. It's just you're just throwing up like an arbitrary barrier to voting that would probably slightly favor Republican votes, maybe.
It sounds like all of these Democratic states should make it free for people to get non-driver's license, just regular IDs then.
Maybe, but now that's just another cost now that your state is burdened with. And
it sounds like a good cost versus the fucking country going to shit. I think getting ID should be free anyways. I don't know why, like that seems like so stupid. Like I can't go to the DMV and get like not a license, not a driver's license, just a fucking state ID for free. That's like that should be free.
Sure.
Simple as.
But it could also be just dumb things. Like if you're, like it might be, it's just a numbers game. Like maybe if you're like a stay-at-home mom and you don't have 2 cars or something or whatever, like you're more likely to let like an ID lapse or not have the right type of ID or just like dumb shit like that. It's probably just more likely, the Republican theory is that it's just more likely to affect non-Republican voters, Democratic Party voters than Republican voters. So as long as they can edge out on the numbers game, it's beneficial to them.
I was saying something like they want to get rid of mail-in voting because Democrats do it more often, but someone said that's not true anymore. Is that the case?
It was never true until COVID. That's what made it true because Trump and all the Republicans didn't believe that COVID was fucking real or whatever.
Okay, so in the future, if you got rid of, now that COVID doesn't exist, if you got rid of mail-in voting, that would hurt Republicans more?
I think it's either a wash or slightly favors Republicans. I think because of military ballots. I feel like I read that at one point in time. So I don't know if it matters that much now for Democrat. But who knows? Maybe that composition has changed since the 2020. I didn't see 2024 for the mail-in ballot stuff, what the breakdown was.
I will say one other thing, and this is like, this kind of goes back to, there was like this stupid scene with Brad Pitt as a general talking about insurgency and shit. I don't get the deportation, the aggressive, mean deportation, because it feels to me like, yes, you're deporting people and some of them are bad, okay? But every time you do that, that person probably has like 10 or 20 legal relatives that are now extremely displeased with you for like literally forcibly removing someone to another country. Like you've made like 20 anti-Trump people as a result of this, right? And these people, there's a lot of Cubans that fucking voted for Trump. And if you start deporting fucking Cubans, like even if you deport one, how many family members and friends are like, yeah, Trump fucking deported Jose. This fucking sucks. Fuck Trump.
Possibly.
Like, that's why I don't understand the strategy. It can't possibly embolden your base.
I mean, they
enough
just
to
not care. The
overcome.
strategy's just not there because they don't even believe the numbers or the data, and they just look at what is on X all day anyway. Trump is. I mean, that's really Trump. Like, I would say Trump should be disqualified. I think Elon should have his business taken from him. If it's really them on those social media accounts, even half the time, this would be considered. If you had any teenage child, if you had another adult, if they were on social media that much, you would talk to your friend and say, "Hey, you have a problem, bro. Like, you need to log the fuck off." Is there a way to see how much does like Trump truth in a day or whatever?
It's an obscene amount. How fucking hilarious is it? He calls us shit truths.
I know, it's so fucking cringe. Is there a way to see like the daily count for this, or?
I will say there's one good thing. And that one good thing is, thank God, this motherfucker is so stubborn and retarded and greedy that he's only posting on his fucking hug box and not on Twitter. Or it would be 10 times fucking worse.
Well, there's Trump
That's
repeat accounts now on Twitter, though, right? So
yeah, still, but it hits differently when you can't like. It feels different when you're not like actually replying to the president type shit.
In 2025, President Donald Trump's Truth Social account made an average of 18 posts per day through all of 2025.
Dude, I feel like he's doing that by the time me and Moot get up in the morning now.
So while he's awake, it's basically like a post or two an hour. And then I'm sure that some of these are going to be bots, or not bots, but like automated things like sponsors or whatever. But